see here, the way how to build an Angular application is completely different than normal application. So first I will try to show you the structure of a normal application. So if you go for downloads, today morning I have downloaded one sample application with respect to Bootstrap. So if you open this particular application, see here, separate CSS folder, separate fonts folder, separate images folder, separate JS folder, and all the HTMLs with respect to the project we have keep inside a root directory. So this is how we have created manually structure back to this particular application. So if you try to execute this index.html, this is how this application is going to look like. That's my point. But this application, since it is a basic HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap application, and we are going to convert this application into an Angular. Okay, how are we going to convert this application into Angular? So that is how I am going to explain in this particular video. So before talking about this template, let me close this template, and I am going to use command line interface. Now I have opened a command prompt. Maybe if you guys are using Mac or Linux or Windows operating system, so with the respective operating system, there is a different way to open a terminal. So in Windows operating system, try to go back to the Windows and open CMD command prompt. Okay, so in command prompt, see now the command prompt is inside a C directory, users folder, and admin. So in case if you are planning to build application inside users and admin, no need to change the directory. In case if you would like to change the structure, not structure, the project folder, if you are planning to store inside a D drive or E drive or F drive, wherever you wish to store, now you must have to change the path. Now see here, PWD. So if you try to use present working directory, I think this is not working in Windows. It may be working in a Linux machine. That's fine. What I am trying to say, now CD and LS is also not working. And let me see what my plan is. Change directory. So I must have to go back to the documents. So CD space documents. So inside the documents, I must have to go back to the CD AIT, AchieversIT folder. Here dir. So if you try to click dir, this is nowhere related to the Angular. These are a basic command line, command prompt, basic DOS commands, wherein we can communicate with the operating system by using these commands. Now inside AIT folder, you can even see there are different subfolders are there. dir is a command where it will try to display all the directories which are inside the respective folder. AIT023, AIT024, AIT March 6, whatever it is. Now, in case, now I would like to create a folder in the name of Inventor Tech Weekend Batch, something like that. I would like to create a folder. So if that is the case, mkdir, so is a command which will help us to create a directory. Mk stands for making a directory. So an mkdir, okay, making directory. So in iTech hyphen weekend, WKEND, so weekend. So now the moment when I create mkdir iTech hyphen weekend, if you try to see, however, now you can see here there is no folder in the name of iTech hyphen WKEND. So, but right after that, we can even see that iTech WKEND. You can compare both the places. Even before mkdir command, there is no such folder. Right after executing mkdir, there is a folder in the name of iTech hyphen WKEND. That's my point. Next, I must have to go back to that particular folder. In order to go back to the new folder which we have created, CD hyphen iTech WKEND. Now we are inside a iTech folder. Now inside iTech weekend folder dir, if you try to see, there is no, you can even see that 0 files. At my point. So here there is no any files, 0 bytes. Why? Because it is empty folder that we have created just now. Okay. Now my plan is to create a sample application. Let me name this application as a very simple, maybe any e-commerce name or any of the name. So let me see, I'm just planning to name this, but my project which we are going to create in Angular is e-cart. So online cart, e in the sense online and cart. So I would like to create a small e-commerce application wherein I will try to add e-commerce features back to my project, so that you will get to know how this e-commerce application that we can create by using Angular and other supportive libraries. Now see here, let us go back to the documents, what we are planning. So I am just taking you to this particular documents folder. Inside the documents, AIT and iTech WKL. So here, if you try to see that there is no folder, there is no file. So all the files are empty. Now, if you are coming back, now see here, now since you are inside a respective folder, now by using Angular CLI, my plan is to create a project. So in order to create a project, first, make sure that all the necessary ingredients are in place, or whether all of them are installed in your computer or not, you must have to check. The step number one, you should ensure that your operating system has already been installed with Node.js. So to check whether Node is installed in your computer or not, Node-v. So the moment Node space -v, -v stands for version. So now if you can see the version, you can ensure that successfully Node version is installed in your computer. Okay, the same way npm-v. So npm-v, you need not to worry about it, as long as if you would have installed Node.js into your operating system. So including Node, automatically the npm would have been installed. Okay, that is how. So we are going to npm is also a part of Node.js, so that you need not to worry about it. If Node is successfully installed in your operating system, automatically npm would also be installed. That's my point. Next, second step, you must have to check Angular CLI is installed or not. In case if you guys have not installed Angular CLI, there is an installation command. I think last class I have already given a command to install Angular CLI into your computer. But now let me check whether Angular CLI is installed or not. ng-version. So this is a command. You should not use just v. So here you must have to allow available commands. Now, so they are giving some commands. You see here hyphen. You try to delete hyphen here. Now see here, Angular CLI version, we have used 8.3.20 and Node version is 12. Operating system Windows 32, 64-bit architecture and Angular. These are the core features which are there inside Angular. Now Angular dev kit is this architect and core and schematic, Angular and update and RxJS. These are the core modules which are inside Angular. By using these core modules, we can able to build our Angular application completely. Okay, while going for interviews, the people may ask, what are the core modules which are there by default while using Angular CLI? So you can even name these guys: Angular dev kit, architect and core modules and schematics, and Angular and update RxJS. So each one of them are core modules. We need not to worry about how these guys are functioning. So that is not our duty to understand how these core modules are functioning. Next, since Angular CLI is also there, Node is also there, npm is also there. So now by using ng command, new followed by a project name. So e-cart. Let me see, e-cart. So the moment when you guys are using ng is a command and a new is a operator and followed by a project name. This is how we are going to create a new project bus. So now here it is asking one question: would you like to add Angular routing? This is prompting, a question. So if you try to put yes, what it will try to do, it will automatically create an Angular routing. Next, on click of yes, which is creating Angular routing. And next, which style sheet format would you like to use? Next, if you guys are aware of CSS or SCSS and SASS, less or stylus, whatever you are aware, you can even select that options. So far, I hope you guys are comfortable with CSS. So that since the CSS is already been selected, so that need not to worry about it. You try to hit enter. So right after hitting enter, make sure that you should have a proper internet connection, boss. If you don't have a proper internet connection, definitely, so the project is not going to create properly. You may run into some issues. And if you're running such kind of issues, again, you must have to delete the complete project and you must have to recreate a project from the scratch. And this will try to take, a minimum 30 seconds or maybe a 1 minute based upon the bandwidth, whatever you have used. And so once this particular project is created by Angular CLI, command line interface, and automatically the structure is going to generate. See, now I guess there is no issues and you can even ignore all the warnings. It's fine. Now if you try to come back and see iTech weekend folder, now eCart, one folder is already created. If you are clicking on this, automatically you can even see that the project is created by using Angular CLI. I'll try to explain about this project from the beginning. So don't be panic enough, and I'll try to explain about every folder structure. Then only I'll try to explain about whatever the files which are inside each folder structure. Now the sample structure has been created by Angular CLI. Now I must have to go inside my project. In order to go inside CD eCart. Now I am inside CD eCart. Okay. Next, since I'm inside CD eCart, now I must have to execute this particular project. So far you have not created anything. Only the skeleton is created by using Angular CLI. Now let me execute this skeleton. If the skeleton is executing without any errors, and I can ensure that my Angular CLI is successfully created a project. Now in order to run this project, I must have to use one command, ng serve. And if ng serve followed by a flag -o. So now without -o, which will try to build an application which won't even load an application in a browser. If you are using ng serve -o, this flag will try to execute that particular application. It will build an application right after successful build, which will open in a browser. Now the build process may take maybe less than 15 or 30 seconds, and on successful build, which will attempt to open that application in a browser. So let us wait for a few seconds and try to see whether how the build. So internally, if you try to see here, the Webpack is a tool which is collecting all the modules which are inside a project and which is going to build step by step. And if you try to see here, 10% building and 3x3 modules and 70, then you can even see 35%, 38, which is keep on increasing. Now see here, upon successful compilation, which is asking to attempt to open this particular project in a default browser. So if you would have set default browser as a Chrome, which will try to open your application. See, if you guys see this particular screen, and successfully once you install your application, if you create application by using Angular CLI, right after a building, and if you try to see this screen, now you can simply ensure that your Angular CLI is successfully created a project. That is what it is, a blind indication, I can say. Next, from here, you must have to start building your application bus. Okay. Next, these are the dummy pages which is given by a Angular CLI. Now, from this particular dummy page, you must have to delete a dummy page and you have to rebuild your application from the scratch. And you have to construct each one of the page. Even no matter whether if you are building an e-commerce application or if you are building any kind of application, you may have to delete this default page and you have to construct your application from the scratch. How we are going to construct and where are we going to modify and what are the configurations and all this folder structure I'm going to execute now. So do you guys any doubts so far?
No, sir.
So now let me open a folder structure. So if you guys are looking at this particular structure, let me increase the font size. So here E2E, this particular folder contains all end-to-end related testing related activities, testing related code. We must have to keep it inside the E2E folder. It is end-to-end testing. Now the testing part we don't need to worry about now. Why? Because this E2E folder will be taken care by a tester, whoever is testing your Angular application. So that being a developer, you need not to worry about E2E folder. So that let us come back to this another folder, node modules. These are the modules which are automatically downloaded by NPM during the project initialization, project creation. So this NPM, node package manager, would have been connected to the internet and it was downloaded all the node modules, all Angular modules, and it has stored inside a node modules folder. Okay, so even this modules also you need not to worry about it. You should not even you cannot even store all of them inside your node modules. You need not to worry about whatever the modules which are there in node modules. This is also not a developer responsibility to understand what is node modules. So now I'm just explaining you the node modules. All of them are Angular related modules which are helpful while creating an application. Even Angular core team is also using some of the modules which are inside a node modules. You also need to use some of the modules while building your own application. So that whatever the module that you need, first you must have to download that and you have to store it inside a node modules folder. Then you must have to link that module back to your application. Then only you will be able to use that application back to that modules back to your application. You can able to use all the features of your application. Next, SRC. SRC is nothing but source folder. So this is where actually whole application code we must have to store it inside a SRC folder. Okay, so this is the one every developer should understand what all the things which are there inside a SRC. So that I will try to explain in detail about SRC. Now, apart from SRC, let me explain about other files as well. Now, editor config. This is respect to the editor. Whatever the editor, maybe see for Angular related application, Visual Studio Code is the best editor. And in case if you guys are comfortable with Notepad++ or Sublime Text or maybe Eclipse or NetBeans or whatever the browser editor that you guys are planning to use, you can use it. But the recommended editor with respect to Angular project is VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Why? Because it has a built-in it has built-in packages which will try to give an intelligence automatically. Okay, so that you need not to worry about some of the intelligence, and if you guys are using a recommended editor which will give you a lot of benefits. Okay, so that you need not to worry about all these guys, and please try to use Visual Studio Code for your AngularJS, Angular related projects. Next, you don't need to see editor config file. This is a JSON file which contains all the configurations with respect to your editor. So developer need not to worry about this file as well. Next, git ignore. This git ignore is also text file, so you need not worry about it. In case in future, generally I will try to brief you about what is git. Git is a repository, code repository, wherein developers can maintain all the revisions of your code into a centralized repository, and wherein we can store the information into the repository. From there we can even update into the servers, and this particular repository will help us in order to make our code up to date. And also sometimes, for example, if you are not maintaining revisions, or if you are not maintaining any backups, if a proper revision control or revision history is not there in your application, you may have to run into a lot of problems. I will try to explain about what is that revisions, and once we start working on this particular project. So here, every time you need not to upload node modules into your server, you can ignore some of the files, and few files we will try to modify and we'll keep it only for a local revision, and few files we will try to keep it for server, so that if you feel that some of the files you are not planning to upload into the repository, we can keep all the files in git ignore file, so that when you are uploading, when you are committing the changes into the repository, whatever the files that you have listed in git ignore, that files will be ignored, remaining other files only it will try to submit back to the repository. Next, Angular, these two files also you need not to worry about it, until unless if you are sure what you are making changes in that particular files, only you must have to make the changes. Next, Angular, this angular.json, this is a file, and we must have to make some changes with respect to your Angular project. Okay, so I'll try to explain about what are the changes that we can do it inside Angular. Next, browser list also don't even touch, and karma config also don't even touch, package.json, package lock, and all these files. See, in this particular root directory, only you have an authority to modify only Angular.json, that too few lines only you should be in a position to modify. Remaining other lines you need not to modify. I'll try to explain what are those lines. Why can't we make changes in other lines? I'll try to explain about all of them. Okay, so next, git ignore. Git ignore, and until unless if you are planning to ignore some of the files to not upload into the server, then only you must have to modify, or else you need not to modify any of the files. Next, see here, among all these files and folders, only you must have to make some changes inside Angular.json. Try to keep that information in mind now, and we'll try to explain what are those lines and why should we make those changes in upcoming sessions. I'm going to explain. Next, let me open this SRC. This SRC stands for source of your whole application bus. Now this is where we must have to keep all application related source code. We must have to keep it inside SRC folder. Okay, application related, you must have to put it inside an application folder. This is very, very important folder. So inside this particular folder, I will try to explain about each one of the files slowly. Now, before going back to the app folder inside, next let me explain about other files as well. Now see here, assets. In case assets is also empty now. In case while working on a project, if you are planning to use any of the images or any of the libraries or any of third-party JavaScript files or JSON files, all the assets with respect to your project, you can even store it inside asset folder. And however, while working on non-Angular applications, you must have to create all the folders manually. But when it comes to this Angular related applications, you need not to create any of the folder structures manually. You should always use the structure which was created by Angular CLI, and you must have to use their own structure. Only very rare case you may make some changes and you are going to create only a folders. Very, very rare case. 90% we must have to adjust with whatever the folders that are created by a framework. Next, all the assets. Maybe tomorrow, if you are using images or libraries or other party plugins, everything you must have to keep it inside your assets folder. Next, come back, environment. This environments, so this environments is a folder. So inside that, the production environment, or another one is production and development environment. Even these files also you need not to make any changes. Okay. Next, favicon, this is with respect to your application, and index dot, this is a root file. Okay, so this particular root file is also called as SPOC. So SPOC, and the SPOC stands for, single point of contact. SPOC, I can say single point of contact. As many people, not only many people, generally Angular framework is majorly built for single page architecture. So you can even build SPA applications. SPA stands for single page architecture. So that's why if the application which created by Angular will work faster than other frameworks. Why? Because Angular framework is following MVC design pattern, and it is not only following MVC design pattern, first it is following a component and service based design pattern. So each component is a MVC design pattern, so that the complexity is definitely going to reduce if you guys are using component and service based architecture and single page architecture. That is the reason Angular team is used single page architecture to build applications. That's why the scalability wise and performance wise and even the security wise, Angular based applications are more intellectual properties, and we can even build an applications and you can reduce the complexity, we can improve the scalability and performance ability. So next, the main.ts file and polyfills.ts and test.ts file, these guys are related to the TypeScript, and I will try to explain about all these files slowly. And here, so you try to understand the index.html. This is a file once everyone are running your application. So that webpack is going to come back within your SRC. It will try to load index.html. From there, the rendering is going to happen. However, I'm just giving you one simple example. While if you are planning to enter into a house, no other house which has an entry directly into a bedroom or directly into a kitchen. Generally, we will try to give an entry to the hall. From there, there will be a connectivity to the different rooms. Okay, once that, if the people are giving direct entry to the kitchen and a hall, the master bedroom, we won't even consider that is a proper architecture. The same way here, the entry, if the moment when the people are executing Angular project, the first entry would be index.html. From there, they are using, behind the scenes, they are using Ajax concept. So we can also call that process as lazy loading. And by using the routing, the Angular team would have been achieved this lazy loading, and only each and every time the index.html is a SPOC. From there, on request base, the people are going to load different components, and you can even understand how these components are being rendered based upon on request, and how to create a routing, how to set a routing configurations, everything you can even see it in a page bus. Now, for time being, index.html is a SPOC you can consider. This is a single point of contact wherein it won't even change any of the page. The page is not going to reload at all. The entire application is not going to reload. Behind the scenes, they are using RxJS, observable classes, and they are using HTTP and HTTPS methods, that is known as Ajax, asynchronous JavaScript and XML concept they are using to render this particular changes. Now, give me 1 second, I'm getting a call from my house. Okay, so now this index.html file is a single point of contact. The moment when you are executing ng-serve, what happens behind the scenes, the webpack, this is a build tool. Okay, webpack and Babel, I'll try to explain about all these small tools, what is the use and how these tools are helping us to build Angular application. Slowly I will try to explain. Okay, so right after this meeting, I'll try to take a short break, Prabit, Sharath and Lohit Dwarka. So just 10-15 minutes break, not even more than that. Why? Because I would like to take a coffee, because from morning to till evening I'm working. There are 4 classes which I took, and I took only 2 hours break, and now I'm planning to take a coffee, and I'll try to join after 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so now the time is 7:23. Maybe we'll try to connect exactly sharp by 7:40. Okay, the 2 minutes I'll try to explain. So here, please try to understand the moment when you are executing this ng serve -o. What happens? This Angular CLI, ng is a command which is there inside Angular CLI. Thus, ng is a tool, I can say. It is not a command. Ng is a tool. Now, serve is a command. -o is a flag. So, what happens if you guys are see? I am making one small change inside our application. Now, as I said, so the best way to work with Angular related application is the good editor is Visual Studio Code. Now, the editor also I am opening through command prompt. I am using code -dot. So if I'm using code -dot, what happens? Which will try to initiate the whole application inside a Visual Studio Code. This is a shortcut which I used to follow in order to open my project inside a IDE, that is Visual Studio Code. Now here, if you are coming back to SRC inside an app, there is five files you can see here: app routing module.ts, app component.css, app component.html, app component.spec.ts, app component. I will try to explain about each one of them slowly, but now I am making changes inside app.html. Now see here, whatever it is, there are a lot of HTML and CSS. You can see it inside this HTML file. Now this is not even created by us, it is created by someone else. Now welcome here, if I'll try to see, and welcome to Angular. So if I'll try to modify something in this particular file, as long as the moment when I'm saving, you can see that it is started compiling automatically. So whose responsibility to make these changes? Behind the scenes, they are using build tool. The build tool that is known as Webpack. The Webpack is a build tool which will try to watch whatever the changes which you guys are doing inside an app folder. As long as if you make some changes inside an app folder, so which will try to notify to the build tool. The build tool will try to initiate browser refresh. You need not to refresh anything. So as we discussed initially earlier, people are writing TypeScript related code inside an Angular, but end of the day, the TypeScript is converted. It is transpiled into JavaScript. JavaScript files only are added back to the browser.